So, dear students, now let us continue with the second part of the human brain or the forebrain, that is the thalamus. Okay. So there's a word called diencephalon, which is not mentioned in the NCERT text. So if I consider that this is the diencephalon with a cavity called diocele, and these two hands of mine are the two lateral walls. So these two lateral walls will be called the thalamus. The roof will be called the epithalamus. The floor will be called the hypothalamus. Now, the thalamus is a very small part and is completely wrapped around by the cerebrum. So that is why we say that the cerebrum wraps around the thalamus. The thalamus is an important relay center of the cerebral cortex. All the sensory information first goes to the thalamus, except sense of smell. Then the thalamus will sort it out and send it to the correct centers of the cerebrum. So it acts as a major coordinating center for motor as well as the sensory signaling through a system called reticular activating fibers, a reticular activating system. At the base of the thalamus is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is called the real master endocrine gland because its neurons secretes hormones which control the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland in turn controls the rest of the endocrine glands. हाइपोथैलेमस के पास और भी दूसरे न्यूक्लिया होते हैं जो बॉडी टेम्परेचर, हंगर, सटाइटी, पेट भरने का फीलिंग, अर्ज फॉर ड्रिंकिंग वाटर, सेक्सुअल ड्राइव, रेज, फियर, ये सारी चीजों को कंट्रोल करता है. Lately, what has been discovered is there is one more system in the human brain which is called the limbic system. It looks like a wishbone which is found in birds. So ये जो लिम्बिक सिस्टम है उसमें सेरेब्रल हेमिस्फीयर के कुछ पार्ट्स, कुछ हाइपोथैलेमस की जो पेरिफेरल रीजन है वहां पे, ऐसे काफी सारे न्यूक्लियाई मिलके लिम्बिक सिस्टम बनाते. उसमें से दो न्यूक्लियाई का नाम हमको याद रखना है. एक almond shape amygdala, which is important for controlling the human emotions like anger, rage, love, fear, happiness center, reward center, punishment center, etc. Then there is a nucleus which is shaped like a seahorse, which is called hippocampus, and it can convert the short-term memory into the long-term memory. The second part of the human brain is the midbrain. The midbrain is located between the thalamus and the pons of the hindbrain, the pons of the hindbrain. Dorsally, the midbrain shows the presence of a pair of structures called superior colliculi and a pair of inferior colliculi. The superior colliculi controls visual reflexes and the inferior colliculi controls auditory reflexes. Through the midbrain passes a narrow canal, this one, which is called iter or the cerebral aqueduct that connects the ventricles in the cerebrum and the ventricles in the medulla oblongata. The last part of the brain, that is the hindbrain, it consists of the pons, cerebellum, and the medulla oblongata. The largest part of the brain, the cerebrum, second largest part of the cerebellum, the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla. ये तीन पार्ट्स ये टॉप के दो पार्ट्स को सपोर्ट करता है लाइक अ स्टेम. दैट इज व्हाई दीज थ्री पार्ट्स is called as the brain stem of humans, which includes the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. The pons literally means a bridge because it has got those fibers that connect the different regions of the brain, especially the cerebral cortex and cerebellum are connected with the help of the pons. Pons also has a pneumotaxic center, which helps the respiratory rhythm center in the medulla to control the depth of your inspiration. The second largest part of the brain, that is the cerebellum. The cerebellum, which literally means the little cerebrum, has a central part which is called vermis and two lateral hemispheres. In a cross section, we see that it also has convoluted surface, but not as convoluted as the cerebrum. The outer part is called as the cerebellar cortex. The inner part is called as the cerebellar medulla. So what we see is the inner cerebellar medulla has a branching tree-like pattern, which is called arbor vitae, or the tree of life. The main function of the cerebellum is it maintains the body equilibrium. So if you see a drunk alcoholic walking on the road, he is able to walk, but he's not able to walk in a coordinated manner because alcohol has affected his locomotor activities by affecting his cerebellum. So that is what I mean by locomotor activities. The posterior most part of the brain is the medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata has a ventricle which is called metacele. The medulla oblongata controls many of your involuntary functions. It shows the presence of nuclei which control respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, cardiac acceleratory and cardiac inhibitory centers, swallowing center, hiccuping center, gastric centers, vomiting centers. So even a small injury to the medulla oblongata can cause immediate death. और कंक्लूड करने के लिए ध्यान में रखना ये डेफिनेशन इंपॉर्टेंट है कि ब्रेन स्टेम इंक्लूड्स योर मिड ब्रेन प्लस ये पूरा हाइंड ब्रेन नहीं आएगा इट विल इंक्लूड योर pons and the medulla. Thank you, dear students.